My name is Anand Prabhu, Senior Member of Technical Staff at Enterprise and Cloud Manageability Team. This session will focus on best practices to secure your databases. In this session, we will cover the database authentication methods, use of custom user for database monitoring, best practices for managing both monitoring and privileged credentials, and also overview of Oracle Database Vault and Cloud Credential Store for databases. Let's start with our first topic, Kerberos and Radius for database authentications. Kerberos and Radius are two commonly used protocols for database authentication. Kerberos is a network authentication protocol that uses symmetric key cryptography to provide secure authentication for network services, including database access. Radius is a client-server protocol used for authenticating remote access connections to networks, including database access. These protocols provide secure verification due to multiple secret keys, third-party authorization, and cryptography. Passwords are not transmitted over the network, and secret keys are encrypted, which makes it challenging for attackers to impersonate users or services to gain access to critical database systems. By using these protocols for database authentication, organizations can ensure that only authorized users are granted access to sensitive data. This helps to enhance the overall security of the database and prevent unauthorized access to avoid data breaches and other security incidents. We do have support in Enterprise Manager to use Kerberos and Radius authentication. Create database name credentials in order to use these authentication methods to connect to database. Provide Kerberos credentials or Kerberos key type credentials or Radius credentials based on the credential type selected while creating these name credentials. Use these name credentials to connect to database in EM jobs or EMDB pages. By default, Enterprise Manager supports DB username or password for one-time database login. In order to use Radius or Kerberos credentials, enable multi-credential types by executing the first emctl command. Second emctl command enables to use Radius credential type. Third emctl command enables to use Kerberos credential type. With these three simple steps, one can easily use the Kerberos or Radius authentication methods to connect to target databases. Advantages of using these authentication methods. It allows DBAs to authenticate against the target databases using their corporate Kerberos or Radius credentials. It allows use of Kerberos key type password file located on desktop or shared directory. Effortlessly manage Kerberos or Radius password and key type file changes by updating the name credentials. And overall, it provides enhanced security using these authentication methods. Let's now discuss the support for Kerberos and Radius credentials for database management functionality in Oracle Enterprise Manager. Kerberos and Radius credentials are currently supported for basic management operations, can be used to access database performance pages, including Performance Hub, and to execute SQL and SQL script jobs securely. New out-of-box preferred credential sets have been introduced for Kerberos and Radius authentications. Migration Workbench now supports authentication using database Kerberos credentials and Kerberos key type credentials while performing data pump migrations. Add space to table space. Advanced corrective action can now be used with Kerberos credentials. In summary, Kerberos and Radius credential enhance the security of your organization's database management functionality. With the support for Kerberos and Radius in Enterprise Manager, you can securely manage your databases and execute jobs and corrective actions without compromising your organization's security. Now let's discuss how to use custom database user for monitoring in Enterprise Manager. Before getting into how to use custom DB user in Enterprise Manager, let's discuss benefits of it. By creating a custom DB user account to monitor the database, organizations can better control access to critical database objects and limit the potential impact of a security breach, thereby providing improved security. Using a custom DB user allows for customized monitoring capabilities to meet specific requirements, providing more flexibility and control over the monitoring process. Many regulatory compliance frameworks require close monitoring of privileged accounts like DBSNMP. Using a custom DB user can help organizations meet compliance requirements by providing a more secure and controlled approach to database monitoring. Custom DB user Also helps to ensure that any audit trails or logs generated by the monitoring process are easier to track and analyze as they are associated with a specific user account. With this new feature, now Enterprise Manager allows to use custom user as the database monitoring user in 3 simple steps. First, create a custom DB user in the target database. Then grant same roles and privileges as DBSNMP to newly created custom database user. Use these newly created custom database user to discover the database targets in Enterprise Manager. Or if the DB target already discovered in Enterprise Manager, then modify the monitoring user of target database to use custom database user. Additionally, Enterprise Manager allows use of custom user for monitoring on provisioning of new databases and in database as a service, and also to patch, upgrade, and clone databases. In summary, using custom database user provides enhanced security to meet compliance standards and enables to track and analyze audit trails or logs generated by the monitoring process with ease. We know now databases can be monitored using both DBSNMP and non-DBSNMP users. Now we will understand how to manage password rotation of these users in Enterprise Manager to ensure the security of monitoring of databases. Before getting into EM jobs or password rotations, we will understand why rotation of password has become more important now. Passwords are the first line of defense against unauthorized access to any organization's sensitive data and systems. Regular password rotation ensure that compromised passwords are only useful for a limited time. This can help minimize the risk of unauthorized access, data breaches, and other security incidents. Many regulations and compliance frameworks such as PSI, DSS, and DPA require regular password rotation for privileged accounts. The threat landscape for cybersecurity has evolved dramatically over the past few years. Hackers and cyber criminals are constantly developing new techniques and tools to steal passwords and gain access to privileged accounts. Regular password rotation help ensure that even if a password is compromised, it is only useful for a limited time. Password rotations are considered to be best practice in cybersecurity. Following this best practice can help organizations stay ahead of emerging threats and protect their sensitive data and systems. In summary, password rotations of privileged accounts are important because they help minimize the risk of compromise, meet compliance requirements, address the increased threat landscape, and follow best practices in cybersecurity. Enterprise Manager provides two out-of-box jobs to manage rotation of monitoring and non-monitoring DB user passwords. First job, change of password for database monitoring user modifies the password in database, and then on success, it updates the monitoring credential and synchronizes the new password with agents to continue monitoring, and updates any target scope name credential if exists for the monitoring user. Can also send notification on success or failure of job for each target for which the job is submitted. Second job, change of password for non-monitoring database user modifies the password in database. On success, it updates any target scope name credential if exists for the DB user. Can also send notification on success or failure of job for each target for which the job is submitted. Now let's understand one of the use case for using these jobs. The straightforward approach would be to run this job against a group of databases. However, the day on which the password needs to be changed varies across different databases. So in this use case, the approach is to use the job as a corrective action, which would be triggered when the DBSNMP account would soon expire using the account expiry in hours out of the box metric or metric extension. Step 1, use database metric account expiry in hours to indicate how soon the password would be expiring, or in cases where DBSNMP password does not expire to avoid account from being locked, then create a metric extension to check on how long ago the DBSNMP password has been changed. In step 2, set thresholds to trigger the corrective actions on violation of thresholds either for metric or metric extension. In step 3, configure a corrective action using the EM password rotation jobs. In step 4, update the metric or metric extension to include corrective action to execute on the metric alert to change the password when it's about to expire. We have seen one way to use password rotation jobs in Enterprise Manager. Another way to use is to schedule password rotation for a large fleet of databases by submitting jobs for different database configurations, such as single instance, rake database with or without data guard. In this section, we will cover how to use this job to rotate passwords in bulk for a fleet of databases to meet password rotation policy. First, add a new DB target property, DB type to signify single instance database. Set value of this property only for single instance databases. Create two dynamic groups. Group 1, single instance databases using membership criteria, target types as database instance, and newly created DB target property DB type. Group 2, create group for cluster databases using membership criteria, target types as cluster database. Now, create a job, change password for database monitoring user for each dynamic group created in step 2. When using this approach, we recommend to consider batching targets per job to reduce the load on the EM job system. So advantages of Enterprise Manager password change jobs. It reduces operational overhead to manually change passwords in database as well as Enterprise Manager. It complies with corporate security policies. It generates password based on corporate password complexity standards. It allows scheduling to meet password rotation policy, and managers apply lag during password sync between primary and standby databases. Now let's learn why PAM and how to integrate Enterprise Manager with third-party PAM for database privileged credentials. Privileged Access Management, or PAM, allows to set policies and processes to control and monitor access to critical systems, applications, and data. It aims to reduce the risk of insider threats and external attacks by granting privileged access only to authorized users and monitoring their activities. PAM provides granular control over who can access privileged accounts and resources and what action they can perform. It also ensures that privileged users are authenticated and authorized before granting access to sensitive data or systems. It monitors and records privileged user sessions to detect and respond to any suspicious activity. It provides secure storage and management of privileged account passwords, including password rotation and generation. It also provides comprehensive auditing and reporting capabilities, allowing organizations to track privileged user activity and maintain compliance with regulatory requirements. Enterprise managers provides the ability to register PAM integration scripts securely to retrieve credentials from PAM. PAM integration script includes API calls or command line interface commands of PAM to authenticate and retrieve credentials from PAM. This integration enables end users to create new PAM-based named credentials in Enterprise Manager or modify existing named credentials to retrieve the credential from the PAM. Enterprise Manager allows retrieving the password for databases or hosts from PAM to perform activities such as executing jobs and patching databases using fleet maintenance through EM in compliance with security policies. PAM provides a secure and centralized authentication mechanism for managing privileged credentials. By using PAM, organizations can enforce strong password policies, rotation of passwords, multi-factor authentication, and other security measures to reduce the risk of unauthorized access to sensitive database resources. Integration with PAM for privileged credential of a database offers several benefits for organizations. One of the key benefits is enhanced security to monitor and manage database targets and hosts in Enterprise Manager. Here are the best practices to securely integrate Enterprise Manager with PAM. Sensitive inputs to the integration script like PAM authentication token or PAM credential should be passed securely as standard input parameters. Proper error handling should be implemented within the integration script, especially for PAM API calls and parsing API errors. Any errors should be returned to standard error terminal for Enterprise Manager to read. PAM API calls should be managed with appropriate timeout to avoid hanging jobs in Enterprise Manager. And on top of that, security of the integration script is ensured by validating the file checksum within Enterprise Manager. Integrating with PAM for privileged credential for database offers several benefits for organizations. One of the key benefits is enhanced security, and following these best practices for integration script results in more secured integration. Let's discuss now the features in Enterprise Manager to enhance the security management of databases using Oracle Database Vault and Cloud Credential Store. Oracle Database Vault implements data security controls within Oracle Database to restrict access to application data by privileged users. DB Vault blocks unauthorized access to sensitive data by creating restricted application environments within Oracle Database. Prevents malicious or accidental changes that disrupt operations by privileged accounts. Command controls prevent unauthorized commands such as drop table or alter system outside of specific maintenance windows. Use factors like client IP, address, program, username, and time of day to enforce zero trust access to data and data operations. Enforce checks and balances on privileged users, preventing attackers from disabling security controls, creating rogue users, and accessing sensitive data by leveraging credentials from a single privileged account. With Enterprise Manager Database Vault operations in EM, even for on-prem database and autumn database from 13.5 R11. Propagate database vault configuration to other database vault protected databases, and EM generates alerts on Oracle Database Vault policies, which helps Oracle Database Vault security analyst to monitor violation attempts on the Database Vault database. Enterprise Manager also provides access to Oracle Database Vault specific reports within EM, like top 5 attempted violations on realm and command rule, top 5 attempted violations by database users and client host, time series based graphical reports on attempted violation for more detailed analysis. Cloud Credential Store is a secure and centralized repository that allows users to securely store and manage their cloud credentials, such as username and passwords for accessing on-premises or autonomous databases. The credentials are encrypted and stored in customer's cloud tenancy, which means they are protected from unauthorized access. Users can then easily retrieve these credentials and use them to connect to a database without having to remember or enter them manually. Cloud Credential Store simplifies the management of multiple credentials for databases and helps ensure compliance with security best practices. Now, manage Cloud Credential Store within Enterprise Manager to store and use credential to access remote on-premise database and also autonomous databases. In this session, we did learn on how to ensure secure access to databases, use Kerberos or Radius authentication methods, why and how to use custom user for database monitoring, follow best practices for password rotation for both monitoring and non-monitoring accounts, integrate enterprise managed with third-party PAM tools like CyberArk, Delinea, or HashiCorp Vault for additional security, manage database vault and cloud credential store for within Enterprise Manager to ensure secure access to databases. Using these best practices, harden the security of your database targets for monitoring and active management. Thank you.